and welcome to Mountain Valley Today. We certainly do appreciate you joining us today, and I've got Nick Jones, who is the current mayor of Rainsville, and he's seeking re-election for the city of Rainsville. So, Nick, can I just call you Nick?
Absolutely.
We're certainly glad to have you with us.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Good to have you with us. We're going to start off today by letting Nick tell you about him, and then we'll jump into some other topics that hopefully he'll want to share with you. So, tell the people about Nick Jones, who you are, where you're from, in case somebody in the world doesn't know who you are.
Absolutely. Of course, born and raised here in Rainsville. Been here my whole life except my time when I was off at college. Graduated high school at Plainview. Was involved in athletics. Even had you in the classroom. I don't want to get too deep into that.
See the gray hair. Yeah,
sure. Went to Northeast for a couple of years and transferred to Auburn. Graduated down there. Wanted to move back home and go to work. Done that, and a couple of years ago graduated from the Alabama Banking School. It's a professional trade type school. I was proud to do that, and proud to call Rainsville home. So, and plan on doing that for the rest of my life. So.
Well, we're certainly glad to have you. And yes, Nick was in my 6th grade math class years ago. We started a tennis team at Plainview. There were 6 of y'all, and we how's the word? We had a challenge there for a couple of years.
We did. We were all new to it, and that was the inaugural year there.
It was the inaugural year.
High school.
And watched you grow up and play basketball there. I remember those days. I think I was the clock operator back in those days,
That's right.
And we're glad to have you with us today. Well, let's start by telling the people why you actually wanted to get involved in politics from the beginning. 4 years ago, when you decided to run, I remember you and I having a conversation sitting out by the pool, which I was managing at the time.
That's right.
You came to see me, and we sat down and talked for a while. So won't you share with them your desire why you actually started on the journey to become the mayor of Rainsville?
Sure, absolutely. I always had an interest in politics, studied it some in school, wanted to get involved, and like we had that conversation back then, wanted to get involved in local politics. I thought I could make a difference there. Our mayor before me of 10 years, he decided not to run. I saw an opportunity there. In politics, statistically, it's easier to go for an open seat than challenge an incumbent. And I felt like there was an opportunity there, even though it was a little riskier. But I thought I had something to bring to the table, and still do. But enjoyed serving Rainsville for the past 40 years and hope to continue that journey.
And one of the things you've been able to do through your work is that I think a day a week you're able to be in the office. Is that kind of still the same?
Yeah, here and there. Of course, I'm a community banker by trade.
Right.
And the bank I work with merged with a bank here in Rainsville. So I work in Rainsville now, which puts me in town and I think ties me less to the City Hall office. But as you know, I give out my cell phone number. Very easy to get a hold of and accessible. And I feel like I'm available. At times I feel like I'm on call 24/7, but that's not the case. But most people are respectful of the hour. But,
right.
But I do feel like I'm very accessible and very approachable and easy to deal with. So.
And since you became mayor, you had a life change there.
Absolutely. Entered office single, and yes, it's the last 4 years married and got a child who is. Be 16 months old tomorrow.
Wow.
So, our home life's changed a bunch, and very
well,
busy.
before you know it, that 16-month-old will be 16 and driving, and it seems like yesterday. My son will be 28 on Tuesday,
Wow.
and I can't believe where has time gone.
Sure.
So you've been mayor of Rainsville for 4 years, and I know there are several things that you've been able to accomplish. So what are some things that you've been able to accomplish through your term that you're most proud of?
Sure thing. Well, I think we've expanded our public safety departments, which is police and fire. Of course, you've been on the council. You've been a part of that too. But I think that public safety is a core responsibility of local government. We've got an ongoing expansion of our sewer system, and again, I think that's a core responsibility of local government to put in place infrastructure that private industry and private dollars can leverage off of and grow and develop and create jobs, and I think it's a win-win for the town. But more technically and on the financial standpoint, I'm very proud of the budget surpluses we've run. To my knowledge, the city over Rainsville's history, and we're a fairly young city, you know that. No administration has run budget surpluses like this one has.
Right.
And that's something I'm very proud of, because in lots of ways, budget surpluses and deficits, in my opinion, is the scorecard for the elected officials. And I'm very proud that we've been able to do that this term.
Well, and one of the things that I was talking to someone the other day, the sewer expansion years and years ago when I first moved to Rainsville back in 1980, was not very popular with the constituents of the town because of the assessments and those
Sure.
kinds of things. But through that particular expansion, Rainsville has so many things to offer today through those growing pains.
Absolutely.
And so, as you continue on your journey, you anticipate some more of those things that people are not so happy with, but are much better for the city further down the road.
Yeah, well, I think Rainsville's history has proven that the sewer argument back in that time was very contentious, and you know, there's a lot of thanks and accolade needs to be attributed to Larry Bolden in that time, and I know he took a lot of heat. I talked with him the other day, but if he and the group that he served with had not set into motion that project, I don't know. I suspect, and I strongly believe Rainsville wouldn't be where it is today. So it's definitely a worthy project. But you know, as you know, in serving in government and serving especially in local government, we don't make decisions. We're not like the politicians in Montgomery and Washington. The decisions we make, we have to answer for them. Because we go to church with the people that we serve.
Yeah.
We shop for our groceries and other things at stores, and we run into people every day. In lots of ways, that holds you more accountable, in my opinion. But you know, in government, as there is anything, there's always going to be hard decisions to make. And I think that anybody going into politics that's not ready to make some hard decisions and not ready to have their ideas examined with critical thinking is being fairly naive. And so I think that's part of the process. But I think overall, Rainsville and leadership over the years has done an excellent job. I mean, cities don't grow and thrive because they've got stagnant leadership.
Yeah.
And Rainsville's always put in place people that are fairly progressive and very active and have a good work ethic. And we're a blessed city.
We are, and I'm glad to have been a part of that for a term. You know, teaching school and public office, I thought were similar. They're very, very different. What's been the greatest learning curve, I guess, is being involved in politics? Something maybe you thought was one way, it was really a different way? You know?
Yeah. Of course, I grew up in a business family, and you know, that was kind of my raising. Financials and business, the structure, the way things work, the decision making is very different than government. You know, that has been a lesson I've had to learn. You know, business as a whole is not as, I guess it's not as transparent as government. Government, you know, affects everybody.
Yeah.
And so you've always got differing opinions and different ways to look at things. But those are probably been the hardest lessons to learn. And also, other than the fact that, like I mentioned before, the decisions you make affects people in lots of ways. You don't realize how many people it affects. And we live among our constituents.
Yeah.
And so you better believe, I'm sure you've been there too, when you make a misstep, you definitely hear about it. So.
Yes, you do. And people are readily able to point those out. And, you know, we're all human. We make mistakes every day. I'm very thankful for the grace of people allow me to apologize when I do stumble. And the policemen keep me honest if I'm speeding through town.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Well, I'm very proud of several things we've accomplished, and that's the ADECA award. You know, where I forget the name at the moment, the city, model city, where they're coming in.
Yeah, the comprehensive planning.
Comprehensive planning,
grant,
yes.
yes.
That was pretty momentous, and it was able to, as you said before, have a vision for where we're going.
Sure.
So talk a little bit about what that means to our city and what it can mean to the people who may not have come to council meetings, may not be reading the paper because of work or whatever. So what does that mean to the local person in Rainsville?
Sure. You know, you mentioned 1980, and that's an interesting year for Rainsville because, of course, Pre-1980 is when talks of the Civic Center got started, the sewer expansion, but also zoning.
Yeah.
Late 70s, early 80s, that time period, the people we had serving at the time were very progressive, and I think they've done a great job. Some of the stuff they got started was not that popular at the time, but I think it's paid dividends for Rainsville. But that's really when Rainsville went down this trail of zoning. And, a large part of the zoning rules and regs that we're operating off of now is in large part from that 1980 help from TARCOG. And, one of the things that I felt like was important, us as a group push for this comprehensive planning, was that we get the professional help from people that do this for a living, help plan. And it's not that my vision for Rainsville is not that every aspect is planned out. I think some growth has to be untethered and has to freely move about. But I think we have to be realistic about Rainsville and the position we're in. We're very ideally located. We're sitting here at the intersection of two major state highways. There's a reason why we're known as the Crossroads. And we've got a lot of land available in an industrial park and in residential areas. Farming as an industry in the whole country, we're moving away from that.
Yeah.
And the economy is changing. I mean, the economy is more global now. And I say all that to say this: growth is coming to Rainsville. I think it's imminent. It's going to happen. But the unique position we're in Rainsville, we turn 60 years old later this year, is that we can steer that growth. We can determine through zoning and through planning, formal planning, how we want our town to be structured. Right. Areas that we prefer to be, residential housing. And when I say residential, there's different tiers of residential housing. There's, $80,000 to $100,000 homes. There's up to, $500,000 homes. And, in a planned city, homes of those kind are generally not sitting next to each other. And there's reasons for that, because you need that structure for market stability. But there, from the city's standpoint, I think if we put in place planning rules and regs, especially with these subdivision rules, we can head off problems that we've had to deal with in this term.
Yeah.
With homes popping up on streets that are not paved. They're not city streets. They're not up to specs, and it creates a problem because you've got citizens that you want to serve and that you want to help, but we have rules on the books that prevent us from doing that. And really, in lots of ways, I don't want to demonize anybody, but in lots of ways, the problem was that the developer didn't adequately work with the city to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And I think through planning we can avoid a lot of that. And my hope through comprehensive planning is that we can avoid a lot of those problems. And we can also work on areas where we need to expand sewer, where we've got a shortage and a deficit of fire hydrants.
Yeah.
Fire hydrants are important for the ISO rating. You know that. But there's just a lot of moving parts and a lot of different opinions, and I think through this comprehensive planning, we can get the professional help that we need as decision makers, local decision makers, right, to make the decisions that will best benefit the people that live here.
One of the things I saw in the media was that Rainsville made the top 10 of one of the most safest cities to live in. I think we're number 8 in small cities.
Sure.
And I don't think we really publicize that enough. Rainsville is a great place to live. So what do you think about our public safety, the police and the fire, rescue? What do you think about that, where we are and where you'd like to see that going from this point forward?
Sure. Well, I think we've got great people in our public safety departments. In this term, we've worked on expanding to 3 men a shift, and I think that's something that, our group in this term we can hang our hat on, and it's something that's been a good, positive thing for the city. Fire department, I think does a great job. I think they need more folks there. I think that maybe in another term we can look at expanding their budget to the point where we can get their staffing to 3. To put them into perspective, Rainsville's fire department runs around 700. I think it's a little over 700 calls a year, and they do that with 6 full-time. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here. You know,
I'm part of that. Yeah.
But Rainsville runs those 700 plus calls with 6 full-time people, And, they sprinkle into the schedule, 4 to 6 other part-time people. They're somewhere in that ballpark. But to put that into perspective, Fort Payne runs, and they're a much bigger coverage area, but they're running around 1,200 calls on an annual basis. And they're doing that with around 35, 36 people. And that, to me, says that at Rainsville, we're getting a lot out of those 6 people, but we're also running a skeleton type crew. And I know, hey, budgets are budgets, and sometimes funding can be tight. But I think that's an area that we need to look at to get them guys some more help to answer some of those calls. But overall, I think they do a good job. I'm proud of them, and I don't know about you, but I get very few complaints about our police and fire.
I get very few complaints as well. And I really appreciate the job that our chiefs do in both departments, and the officers and the employees at both. They have represented us well. They look out for us, and they come when you call them.
Sure.
So, and I think that speaks volume. What do you think about maybe the school system with which we have? We have a couple of a public, a private school. We also have the community college. We have the technology center that all the schools in the county send students to.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about the education systems here in Rainsville? Even though they're not city systems,
Sure.
we're a part of who we are.
Yeah, sure thing. Well, of course, I'm a Plainview grad, and Plainview will always be close to my heart. But yeah, I'm very proud of Plainview, very proud of our school system here. Plainview is a big part of Rainsville, even though it's not a city school system. It's always going to be interwoven into Rainsville. The technology center over here, I think, is a great asset. I know it services people countywide, but I'm proud that we got it in Rainsville. I understand that the school board's looking at maybe putting a bus garage in Rainsville.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great thing. I like nothing better than things to get centralized and located in Rainsville. Rainsville, in lots of ways, is a somewhat of a hub for DeKalb County. We're not the county seat, and we probably never will be. But in lots of ways, for the Sand Mountain part of DeKalb County, we are the hub and the central location, and that's something we should be proud of. And of course, we got a private school here in town, and those folks have a lot to be proud of as well.
They've really expanded. I think they're a preschool through kindergarten now over there. And of course, community college. That is a great venue that people coming through town, heading to the college to go to class, and they're always stopping by to get food and gas, and we're bringing those dollars to town. Well, I know you have a vision. I mean, I know you well enough to know you have a plan for what you'd like to see happen in Rainsville. So tell the people what your vision is for Rainsville, where you want to see us going after another term with you being at the helm as mayor of Rainsville.
Sure thing. I think we mentioned projects, we mentioned government services expanding, and I think expanded responsibly. We've done it with money that tax dollars that have rolled in. We haven't expanded and went to the point that it's not sustainable, I guess is what I'm getting at. And I want to look at sustaining those services, because I think they're very efficient. I think they're very good for the people here. But overall vision for Rainsville, I really think the folks at ADECA, the people at TARCOG that helped us secure this comprehensive planning, I know we haven't really, and I'll take some of the blame for that. We haven't gotten the word out about how big of a deal that is for Rainsville, but it's a very big deal. And if we play our cards right with that planning, I think we see results in 5 years, but we really see results as far as an improvement with our zoning, improvement with the way our town's laid out. I think in 20, 25 years, I hope we've got a lot to look back and say, those were good times for Rainsville, and it was an exciting time to be involved in the leadership in Rainsville, and that we can clearly see the results. So.
Well, I think that's true. I know that as we were talking earlier, you've got to have a little growing pains. People aren't necessarily comfortable with it, but you have to make some plans and you have to move forward. And it takes strong leaders to be able to lead a town or any group in that direction.
Sure.
I think probably one of the biggest weaknesses I have always had is promotion, of what the kids were doing when I was involved in the school system, promotion of the things we have in Rainsville. I feel like maybe we've done not as good a job of promoting events and things in Rainsville as I'd like to see, because we have so much here that others need to come and be a part of,
Sure. Yeah.
So what are some things you want to really promote as great things of our city that people who may not even realize we have here in town?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned earlier in the interview, what are some of the surprises of serving? And one of them has been, at least for me, is that when I got into office, of course, it's fairly easy to keep up with things that are going on through emails and,
Right.
and that type of thing. But there is something every night of the week. There's somewhere there's something going on, and then there's most weekends there's something going on, and that has been overwhelming, or it has been for me, trying to be at everything going on in Rainsville, and I think in lots of ways it's just not possible.
Mm-hmm.
You go to as much as you can, and but you still have to have a family life and,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. But I agree with you. I think we do need to work on getting the word out about everything that's going on here in Rainsville, because we do have a lot to offer. I mentioned in the Mountain Valley Forum, I mentioned that one of my fears is that Rainsville will, because of our abundant land that's available for building houses and subdivision development, is that we would become a bedroom community. And I would hate to see that.
Yeah.
I don't want to see us become a place where people live here and they don't know their neighbors, and they travel way out of town to work, and all they do here is sleep.
Right.
Because I think that's just there are examples of that, of course, in the state, but that's just not who Rainsville is. And I think that'd be a sad state if we got to that point. But I don't think we're headed that way, but I do want us to continue to as a community work together to structure some of this growth, welcome newcomers. I mean, I hear people all the time. I used to work in Fort Payne, and I would hear people that grew up in Fort Payne call Fort Payne their home, and they would look at Rainsville and say, we're moving to Rainsville. It just seems like it's more vibrant, and there's a better sense of community up there, and of course, naturally, I'm biased, and I egg it on and say, "Come on, we're
take
glad
you."
to have you."
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's. But anyway,
One of the things I interviewed a couple of days ago was the director of tourism down in Fort Payne, who was in the Kodak business world and would come to DeKalb County for vacations, and actually chose to move here. And that's one of the things I've talked about with Senator Livingston, Representative Ledbetter, is we have so much in DeKalb County, we just don't promote it enough. It's sort of like a hidden treasure.
it is.
And maybe that's something we could look at in the future, about keeping a community calendar that just has everything listed. That's one thing that they had said they did, that you could go on their website and look at their community calendar, and it was something to do all the time, which you and I have talked about or just a
Sure.
moment ago.
Yeah.
But if we could get that on maybe the city webpage or the chamber webpage, that might
Right.
be something we might want to consider. Well, I know you've being in government, there are challenges. So what do you see as some challenges as we move forward? Maybe it could be growth and people be resistant to that. It could be something else. What do you see as a challenge as we move forward in the next term?
Yeah, I think a lot of challenges. This is not just Rainsville specific, but challenges in government in general. I believe in it. I believe it's nationwide. You've got a lot of media, and you got a lot of media that maybe is not a fair media source. They're more of a propaganda type media, and I don't mean around here. I mean on the national stage. But you have a lot of people consuming that news, and a lot of that stuff is driving a divide in this country.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to get off into national politics, but people consume that type of news on TV, and they turn around and they apply that same level of divisiveness and mistrust of government. And serving in government and then running again, I pick up on that when talking with people. And there's just a certain level of mistrust of anybody in government, and I think that's just unfortunate, really.
It is
Because everybody
unfortunate.
in government, there are some that that don't belong in government and should be voted out, as the saying goes. But
Yeah.
a lot of people in government are good people, and that includes government employees and all the way down. But they're unfairly tagged. And anyway, I say all that to say this. Government in general, and here in Rainsville too, one of the challenges is overcoming some of that mistrust, and and making people not necessarily believe in government, that the government's going to make their life better, but trust government and government people enough that hey, they can get the job done and get done what's needed and what's expected
Yeah.
of it. So
Well,
I'm not sure
and
if
you
that
know,
answers your question. but-
it does. I think not only news media, but social media as
Sure.
well. Social media sometimes to me reminds me of the bully on the school bus. You know, whoever barks the loudest or will post as much, and you know, what was the old saying? Be careful what you read or what you see on TV or read on
Sure.
the internet. You know,
That's right.
I read that on the internet. It's got to be true.
That's
That's
right.
not necessarily the way
right.
that it is, but
Sure.
and not talking about me, but I think politics is something that a lot of people steer away from because of that negative connotation. But there are really a lot of good people who want to do good for
Sure.
their citizens in their town, or they wouldn't have run to begin with.
That's right.
And I feel like all the ones who are running for elected office in our town have that same heart for our town and want
Sure.
to do what's right.
Absolutely.
And I would encourage you to try it at least once.
Oh, yeah.
It's not for everyone. I thought I'd seen it all being a school teacher. But, and you know, if you don't try, you never know.
That's right. You know, and a lot of good people sit on the sidelines because they watch the process from afar, and they think, yeah, I'd like to serve. I'd like to serve my town or this and that, but they don't want to go through what it takes to serve.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that's sad. That's
Well,
one way to put it, but-
I know our time is getting close to the end, but we hope that someone's watching today and they're trying to decide, should I give you another chance? Should I pick someone else? If they're watching today, what would you say to them to help them understand that you deserve another chance? You're the one they need to strongly consider and to vote for.
Sure, absolutely. You know, Rainsville, I'll always be proud of Rainsville. Rainsville will always be my home. It's an unbelievable honor and privilege to serve as mayor of your hometown. It's hard to put in words what that means. But I believe that Rainsville's best days are ahead. And I think in lots of ways in this term, we've laid the groundwork, we've laid the foundation for better days. We've laid the foundation for some really good times ahead. And I know a lot of things affect that, the national economy and that kind of thing, but Rainsville's a special place.
Yeah.
And Rainsville will always be near and dear to my heart, always be my hometown. And I would love to be a part of those good days ahead, and would love an opportunity for 4 more years to serve.
Well, I tell you, we really do appreciate you coming and being with us today. And don't forget, you can watch Mountain Valley on Farmers Telephone TV Channel 6. We're on WFPA 1400 in Fort Payne. And also, you can go to mountainvalleynewspaper.com and watch any of our previous episodes. And you can watch this one again in case you missed something while we were talking. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again. And Nick, thanks so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it very much.